Hey, I'm Amanda from Trifecta Fitness. We're proud to be Clarksville's new Get Fit headquarters. Trifecta Fitness is a state-of-the-art spin and strength training studio. Our spin studio is truly one of a kind in this area, complete with 20 state-of-the-art live fitness bikes and an incredible sound system. Our strength training is done in small groups of 6 or fewer, and all of our strength and spin classes are scalable for every level of experience. Come see us in the heart of Clarksville, just behind MAPCO at the corner of Old Trenton Road and Wilma Rudolph Boulevard. Call us for more info at 931-542-6265 or download our Trifecta Fitness app for a full list of upcoming classes.
In October 2019, Arlington, Texas was chosen to be the home of a new national museum, unlike any other. The National Medal of Honor Museum will be a unique home of military history. The 100,000 square foot museum will house exhibits, archives, and artifacts relating to the 3,500 U.S. troops who have been awarded the medal, the nation's highest honor for valor in combat. The museum will have 31,000 square feet of galleries dedicated to U.S. troops who have received the award. The museum CEO, former Navy SEAL and NASA astronaut Chris Cassidy, said the museum will focus on education as much as preservation. The building will have 5 areas dedicated to Medal of Honor winners from the Army, Marine Corps, Navy, Air Force, and Coast Guard. The main gallery will be located in a central plaza under a 25,000 square foot slab of steel, which will appear to be suspended in midair. It will be supported by 5 pillars. Black Rifle Coffee is a corporate sponsor of the museum, as are the Dallas Cowboys. The museum's board also includes over a dozen major corporations and 6 Medal of Honor recipients, including David Bellavia, Patrick Brady, and Britt Slabinski. Army Staff Sergeant Bellavia was awarded the medal for clearing an entire house by himself on November 10, 2004, as a squad leader in support of Operation Phantom Fury in Fallujah, Iraq. He killed 4 enemy fighters and wounded a 5th in close quarters battle. Army Major General Brady flew and coordinated the evacuation of 51 seriously wounded men during a firefight in Vietnam in January 1968. Slabinski, a Navy SEAL chief and team leader, led a rescue team of SEALs during Operation Anaconda in Afghanistan in March 2002. Slabinski and his team flew to a mountaintop ambush site to rescue Petty Officer First Class Neil Roberts, who had fallen from the back of a helicopter. Slabinski led the team through almost constant combat against an entrenched Taliban force. Along with the board members, former presidents Jimmy Carter, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, and Barack Obama serve as honorary directors. The museum is expected to open to the public in late 2024.
All right. Welcome back. MisFitNation. We are a show founded by a veteran and hosted by 2 veterans and a military spouse. Our mission is to get people to tell their story to the world. If you're an author, share your tips with MisFitNation. If you're a musician or actor, our audience needs to know how they too can get into the business. Coaches, we love our coaches. Come on and share some of your tips with the MisFitNation to help them become better versions of themselves. If you're a corporate leader or an entrepreneur, come on and share how you did it and how hard you have fought for success. If you're a veteran, first responder, or Gold Star family, we would love to have you come on and just share your story with the MisFitNation. We always have time for you. If you're feeling down, alone, or starting to see the darkness, stop. Think about those who are around you. You are not alone. You will be missed. If you feel like your problems will be a burden to those in your inner circle or are embarrassed, dial 988. If you are a veteran, take option 1. We need you to keep pushing forward. Don't make a permanent solution to a temporary problem. If you're a new listener, welcome to the MisFitNation. Be sure to subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast apps and also on our YouTube channel at @_MisFitNation. Subscribe and click the bell to keep you up to date with our latest episodes and all of our news. You can also find us on Heroes Media Group and About Face Radio. Now, let's get to the show. All right. Welcome. We have a good one tonight. Our next guest has spent 34 years of his life in the Army, 6.5 years as Command Sergeant Major of Strike in the 101st Airborne Division, and then was the Eagle 7 for the 101st Airborne Division. He retired as the FORSCOM Command Sergeant Major. Since that time, he has worked for a nonprofit focused on helping veterans and first responders through emotional and physical industries. He worked with a simulation company and currently serves as the managing member of the Proximity Group, helping companies reduce internal pressure and increase capacity. So without further ado, let's welcome Command Sergeant Major Retired Scott Schroeder to the Misfit Nation. Welcome, Scott.
Hey, Rich, thanks a lot. Thanks for the introduction. That's fantastic. We can stop right now.
I hit all the highlights for you. I put all the right things on there. I didn't want to mention a lot of the other places you work because a lot of them I've never been to, but I'll let you talk about those. So one that surprised me on there was Fort Hood, 3 Corps. I didn't realize you went there between 101st and FORSCOM, so that was something I didn't know about you until I read your bio.
Yeah, that surprised a lot of people.
Yeah, it's probably you too.
Well, really, I think they brought me there. The Corps was going to Afghanistan, so they didn't send me there to master tanks and tank gunnery, but I learned a lot. It helped me later.
Definitely did, yeah. So I gave a quick blurb about you there. I know you said you want to stop at that point right there. If you can give a little more history of you from before that port period, what made you join the service to how we got to where we are now, that'd be great.
Whew. Rich, I lived all over the daggone world when I was a kid. My dad had retired from the Navy and was with the space program. So we lived I was born in Pennsylvania, lived in Bermuda, Maryland, Florida, 2nd and 3rd grade in Mexico, back to Florida, and Virginia. And then I don't know, I wasn't the greatest student in the world. And there was no reason for me to spend any money on college or anything like that. I was working for several years. I didn't join the Army till I was 22, Rich. And I was working. I found myself in a lumber yard doing helping with pulpwood, and so not just in the lumber yard, but out in the woods. And I was working with a bunch of freaking hard old dudes, and 30, 40, 50. I'm 19, 20, 21, and I'm like, I finally decided I am not doing this shit for the rest of my life. And so I'd gone to the Navy recruiter, and a week before I had run the Marine Corps Marathon. And so some of my blood work came back messed up, and I had taken, like the recruiter told me, I took my medical records with me, and I got permanently rejected from military service.
Wow.
And so I waited a year and went back to the Army recruiter and didn't take any records. And so when I got to the box, when you're enlisted and you're filling all this information out, it says, have you ever been rejected from military service? And I checked the box no. So I guess you could say I fraudulently enlisted the Army.
Hope they don't hold that against you now.
Well, it's public knowledge now. I talked about that in my retirement speech. It's almost crazy what we do today with my son's a recruiter, and we disqualify all sorts of folks that could serve just because we keep better records today.
Yes. Definitely.
So I did that. I was an electronics mechanic, my first enlistment, and I was getting ready to re-enlist. Another maybe interesting note that a lot of folks might not know is I was at a remote site in Germany working on nukes, and I had just gotten a new car, and you had to travel about an hour and a half to get the thing registered. And I went to the dumpster one morning to take the trash out, and there were some plates. There were some user plates in the dumpster. It solved my problem, so I just put them on my car. Problem was I got a ticket by the pullet side. They take the picture and snap your picture, and so they figured out who had the daggone car, and so I ended up getting going in for an Article 15. The same time, it's time for me to reenlist.
Oh wow!
Yeah. And so, and I was a specialist. I was a promotable specialist at the time, and I tell folks, I think the commander was he may have needed one more to change his reenlistment stats from yellow to green, and I was that guy, and so he gave me a verbal admonishment, and so I was able to reenlist, didn't lose any rank or anything. I mean, he asked me what I was going to do. I said, well, it depends. You know, if I walk out of here as a PFC, I'll probably just pack it in. I understand I'm good with it. But he saw something in me, or he needed to make quota. But I carried that with me for a long time, and I mean my whole career, and I always thought that, you know, UCMJ should be fair and unequal.
Definitely. Yeah. So you became infantry after that?
Yeah, so I reenlisted for infantry and finished basic in AIT, got to Fort Bragg, and 6 weeks later I was in Ranger School.
It's a pretty quick turnaround.
Yeah. And I mean, the rest is history. I was in the 82nd. I went from the 82nd to 3rd Ranger Battalion. And I ended up going to be a drill sergeant for a bit, and for a couple of years in Hawaii. And then I came to the 101st as a first sergeant. That's where I was over in the Rakisans, actually.
As a first sergeant?
As a first sergeant for a couple of years, and then I stood up the CCF. I don't know if you were there when we had CCF back in 2000. But
no, it's in between.
Yeah, so CCF was a fantastic. That was probably one of the greatest, most liberating leadership experiences I had.
Really?
Standing that thing up. And for anybody that doesn't know CCF, it's a correctional custody facility. So you could go there as a result of Article 15. Company grade 7 days, field grade 21 days, and I would be there with my specially selected and well-trained group of cadre to administer some corrective training. And it was fantastic. A lot of the, you know, we would do AARs at the end, and a lot of the people that went there as a result of Article 15 would say the best training I've had since I've been in the Army.
Wow. Folks
would come away after 21 days and have like a 70-point increase on their PT test.
Wow.
Sergeant Major Hill gave me the greatest compliment. He gave me a great compliment. He said I had to shut it down, and this is after I had left. So I got selected to go to. I went and did Operation Anaconda. Went to the academy, and then. But Sergeant Major Hill said I couldn't justify keeping a program opened where they were getting better training in that program as a result of Article 15 than they were a half mile up the road at the NCO Academy. So
correct.
It was good training. They got military training. They got physical fitness training. We taught them some life lessons. So it was good. Went to Sergeant Major's Academy and came to strike to the Widowmakers.
So you're 175 first, okay?
Well, actually, it was 3502 at the time. So OIF won, and then I was part of the transition from 3502 to 175, which was just it was going from 700 folks to 435, and then taking all those infantry folks and then trying to spread them across the entire division. And I mean, you don't want to give everybody your problem children, but and you don't want to keep all the best. You want to keep all the best, but you know you can't. And so doing that and changing the barracks and all that stuff, it was just it was interesting. And then the deployments continued.
It was constant after that, probably.
Yeah. I tell folks from from 2001 until 2014, 12 is the only year I did not have months deployed.
Wow. Because you were with us in 10-11, you were over there as the Sergeant Major RC East, right?
It was Division, yeah, at
Yeah.
RC East. And then I left there and went to Hood, and then I went back as IJC. So that
Right.
was my last.
Wow. Yeah, so you put it all on the line over there for a long time. And going from the infantry battalion to the 175, people don't realize that it went from 100%, 90-something% infantry to one company of infantry, and the rest were mostly 19 series troops, right?
Yeah, we had 2 troops, but the way we reorganized when we got the mission, when we deployed, we got the mission to have a MIT team. And so we just built up 2 troops, and we also had a robust fires section in the headquarters, like 20 fire supporters.
Wow.
So we took all those fire supporters, and we took a bunch of infantry guys, and we made 2 troops with four platoons each, and we just mixed them all up. We had 19s, 11s, 13s, all in the same platoon. So it was actually a really good mix of skills and capabilities in each one of those platoons. And instead of having a troop that couldn't do anything, they had extra folks. So they just had more battle space, but they had more platoons to be able to move around.
Definitely. Yeah. And I mean, that was a big change, just to lose take that one battalion, turn it into what you did, and that challenge you had to do that, and then come back and still be able to lead again within the 101st, continue to stay at the 101st for a long time. You were here probably longer than most people get to stay at the 101st and in different varieties of positions. So that's kudos on you. And I don't know if you enjoyed it as much as we enjoy being at the 101st, but I have a good time here. I'm still here now. So
yeah, it's fantastic. I wouldn't have left the brigade if I didn't. They told me I had to.
Yeah.
6.5 years. I was 6.5 years in the brigade as a command sergeant major.
That's a long time. Yeah, you've grown roots in there.
It was good.
I left Fort Campbell in 99, but I got here in 96 when the first 2 helicopters collided there from strike, doing a dog and pony show out there for a congressman. Mm-hmm. And so everyone thought of strike as the bad luck brigade at that point. And then I left in 99. We came back in 2010 from Korea. My wife's like, just don't go to strike. Just don't go to strike. She said, go back to Bastogne and don't go to Rakasans. Don't go to Rakasans. Whatever you do, don't go there. I said, well, you limited me to 1 brigade right now. So one plus, 4th brigade was still up. And I went into replacement, and my order said 2nd brigade. That's well, I came out. I said, we're going to strike. No. I said, it's not Rakasans. It's a happy medium. I said, it's a new world.
Actually, during that time, it was the place to be.
Yeah.
It was the place to be. And I'll tell you, I would run into folks all the time, and I would run into folks that had been in the strike brigade during that period, and they had been almost spent their entire, they'd been in for a long time, and they would say, by far, the best experience that they've ever had was being in the strike brigade.
Definitely. And my last tour there was amazing, and I actually requested when they sent me to Maryland APG for my last real assignment, and I asked for 2 days to come back here to retire in strike, mm-hmm. and they granted it, so I can come back and retire with the eagle on my shoulder in strike.
Fantastic.
So that's where my mindset went over those 3 years just within the brigade, and met a lot of great people. So you got to be with a lot of great leaders and a lot of great soldiers throughout your career and throughout many tours. What are some awesome stories that you can share with, maybe spotlight 1 or 2 and come forward with them?
Man, there are so many, Rich. I will. There are so many. We have so many fantastic soldiers. So many fantastic stories. One that sticks out in my mind that I tell folk. I was at an event the other night, and somebody told it was a veterans event, and the guy that was there he's in finance now, but he said, well, I was in the Army, but I was just a sergeant. And I said, there's no such thing as just anything. And then I told him a story about, now this is a Bastogne trooper. General Townsend and I were going and getting ready to go in and check on an operation when we were in Afghanistan over in the Konar. And we go to this battalion TAC, and we're getting briefed on the concept of the operation, where all the units were arrayed, and a call came on the radio, and it was like Bulldog TAC. This is 36 Romeo. We're in contact with small arms and RPG. The platoon leader's wounded. The platoon sergeant's unconscious. The medic's dead. The RTO's wounded. We're surrounded, and we need help right now. And that trooper stayed on the radio for about 4 hours and called for fire, controlled CCA while the squad leaders were out fighting, repelling the attack. And then he called in got the medevac in, and it was the RTO that had been wounded. He had been shot in the head, shot through the shoulder, and had a broken arm. PFC SHRAM. I said, now, some people may have said he was just a PFC.
Right.
No such thing.
Right.
And we have, look at Sergeant Pereira, Distinguished Service Cross from the Strike Brigade.
Definitely.
Pereira, and there's so many other soldiers that didn't get recognized for awards, but did heroic things every day that was just ordinary, just seemed ordinary, just seemed routine, just doing my job. But it's every day, oftentimes. And so, yeah, there's so many great troopers, and yeah, I'll leave it there.
You're definitely right. Most anyone that was in strike when I was there would say I didn't do anything anyone else wouldn't have done. I did the same thing the guy or girl to my left would have done. There's nothing I did that was better. I don't understand why I'm getting this and not them.
Right.
And that was across the board. And even the brothers in the Bastogne, that's where I started. That's where I learned the most of my leadership was in Bastogne, 2nd 327 in the 90s. And to see how they were fighting in the RC East while we were in the South, it showed that their tenacity was still the same in the 2000s as it was back when we thought we were just training to train at that time in the 90s, but all that training leads up to something, and it embeds in your head what you're supposed to be doing. And when the clock ticks and your number comes up to go into the fight, you got those 30 seconds to make a decision and either make the enemy lose or you have to go down in a ball of fire. So, and all the 101st was doing that at the same time, even those Raksan guys.
Yeah. Even those Raksan guys.
I don't like to give them too much credit, but
I have to be partial to everybody now.
Yeah.
But when I was in the Rakkasans, there was tension between the Rakkasans and Strike too. So I mean, it's fine. It's long as it's healthy, as it's healthy competition, it's good. No matter what, if the Rakkasans and Strike were in a bind, they would work together, and they have worked together. I mean, down in 2010, I think 2nd Battalion, it was 2nd Battalion that came down with y'all for a while to do some fighting. Along
with some of the engineers from BSTB as well.
Yeah.
So we had a whole bunch of them down there for probably, I think, throughout the whole operation down there. Eagle Strike, great operation and great teamwork amongst the division.
Yeah.
So after 34 years in, how was it that day that you hung them up and you became just Mr. Scott Schroeder at that point? And how was it like, oh, what do I do with myself? Or I need to find more things to keep myself going?
I was ready.
You ready?
I was good. There wasn't anything else I could do. And I think that's maybe why some folks have a hard time. But I was happy. I was content. I was ready to be Scott. I tell folks, Sergeant Major is what I was, not who I am. And I was able to, and I'm different than some folks. I mean, my family, all my kids are grown up and out of the house, and I was able to find, actually a job found me, and it was a good transition job. Like you said, I was working with a nonprofit, and we were helping first responders and veterans recover from physical and emotional injuries, and we did it cycling. So I like bike riding, and so it was good to be able to give back and also be able to stay fit.
Definitely, and show them all a path to make their minds stay in the clear and not get into that fog that we lose a lot of guys and gals from. So
Yeah.
I think the physical fitness aspect of when you get out really helps a lot. It's something a lot take for granted while they're in, and then when they get out, they realize I should probably just keep doing this a little bit to help me out.
Well, we had guys that were double, triple amputees. We had spinal cord injury victims. We had all folks with TBI, and so we had mechanics that could adapt bicycles to meet their needs, and we had folks on recumbent bikes and hand cycles. So, and then we would take them. We had about 6,000 participants in over 50 locations, but then we would bring people together about eight times a year, and we do rides like Minneapolis to Chicago, Jacksonville to New Orleans, 450 miles on the California coast, mountain biking a couple times a year. So that's what we did. Yeah, it was good.
That's outstanding. And then from there, you went to. Did you write the book after that?
Yeah, I took a pause and wrote the book, and then well, as I was finishing the book, a simulation company called me, and they asked me, they were checking to see if I knew anybody that might be interested, and so, well, I'm not doing anything right now. I'll come check to see what you have, and it was fantastic. I mean, what they had was really good. You could shoot 9mm to Mark 19. There's no course of fire that you couldn't replicate. I could set up a screen and a system. I could load it in my truck, set it up in my garage, and be shooting in 10 minutes.
Wow.
The sniper school had a system, and they put it out. They used it out on the range, and they blocked the sun with a poncho. So you could call CCA. You could call for fire, control CCA, and attack aviation in simulation. And then at the time I left, we were working and getting into starting to get into. Are you familiar with mixed, or you have? Are you familiar with augmented reality? So you have, yeah. So augmented reality is virtual reality. You're totally covered. You know, you can't see the real world. You're in the virtual world. But in augmented reality, you can put virtual entities in the real world. And so with like a little headset, but you can still see out in front of you, you could engage virtual and real targets with laser, UTM, or ball ammunition and get effects on target. You could call for fire. You could call for fire or CCA or CAS and get effects on virtual and real targets.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just imagine when we were both young soldiers, if that stuff was out. Soldiers have a lot of different training skills.
Yeah, well, we had a hard enough time keeping up with the miles.
Getting it all back to turning was hard enough. Yeah.
If you can get that shit to work, I mean, a lot of times you can't get. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know how good it is in. I mean, the Army was trying to do the. I don't know how many billion dollars they did for the HoloLens that they were working to do, and that's there's a lot of different things in there, but I think they gave up on that. So eventually they'll have it. I mean, Crow System was an idea one day too.
Right. Yeah, and that really grew out of necessity after a little bit there to save at least one person from being out exposed to the environment there.
Yeah.
I just trained a unit in Ohio last week, and they were getting ready for their next trip across the pond, and they had to send 40 soldiers in the middle of our training to go through Crow System so they can get that checked off their checklist to get deployed. So they missed half of our training, but they got something that really helped them when they're downrange. So I didn't complain. I said we can always come back and train them anyway, so we'll be all right.
We were that was a fight I had at Fort Hood. I'm at Fort Hood, and I'm going to stand up a Crow's Academy because I got tired of training, waiting until And we wouldn't let some cat leave CONUS if they hadn't qualified with their freaking pistol, right? But we're going to put somebody on a Crow system without any training because it's just like a video game, right?
Right. And they've never touched it.
Ask Sergeant Major Smith how that shit worked out.
Yeah. That hurt a lot.
Yeah, that shit didn't work out that day.
No.
And I'm at Fort Hood, and they're, well, we can't. I said, how many? I'm talking to the G3 folks in the Army G3. I said, how many 400,000s is it worth to you?
All right.
I mean,
you couldn't answer.
Shit in containers somewhere. Send me some of these things, and don't worry about it. We'll make it happen. And we put an academy together at Fort Hood for Crows. I just got tired of having people get in theater. I mean, when I was at Division, I shut shit down at 3 Corps. All those rollover trainers, I sent that shit back home. So people didn't have to do rollover training in Afghanistan when they got there.
Yeah.
You have it at home station. That's the other thing they wanted me to do when I got there is they wanted me to re-zero my rifle at 25 meters. Are you serious? Well, before I deployed, I zeroed this at 100 meters. If you can't do any better than 25, I'm not doing it, and we're not going to make anybody else do it either, unless you can give them 100 meters where it's supposed to be zeroed. Let them do it out of their sights.
They have the time before they leave. It's just, if you want to take away some of the stuff they don't really need to be doing, let it happen, because that's something that they don't need to do when they get in country.
Don't make them do it. Let it be an option. Provide them the capability, the ability to do it, but don't make them do it. It's a unit's responsibility to be trained when they get there.
Right. And they should be ready to go when they go wheels up. So you would think.
Well,
yes. So what are you doing now, Scott?
Yeah, I started thanks for asking. Last year I started my own company. I was working with another larger consulting company, and I started my own because I don't want to travel as much, so I want to do it in Charlotte as much as I can. So I'm working with companies, helping them. Like you said, it took me a while to describe it. I help them reduce internal pressure. So internal pressure is usually a function of lack of clarity in 5 areas. It's vision, priorities, structure, clarity of roles, and cadence of accountability. If you can focus on yourself, and reduce that internal pressure, that allows you to focus on the things that are external pressures for you. I tell the story. I was at a paving conference because I've been working with some paving companies. I like the paving companies. I like construction. I like manufacturing. I like working with the folks in the trades, tool and die. But I was at a paving conference, and these paving professionals were complaining about young people and not wanting to work and don't come to work on time. And I was thinking of, I don't know if you know Sergeant Major McFowler, but McFowler was my brigade sergeant major in the 82nd, and he's inspecting my room, and he comes and opens my desk drawer and says, "Hey, Airborne, what we got right here?" I said, "I don't know. What are you talking about, Sergeant Major?" He says, "Right here, I see a physical security violation." And he was pointing at some change. I said, "What do you mean, Sergeant Major? This money right here, this is a physical security violation." I said, "Sergeant Major, that's not even 40 cents. He said, "Airborne, you're half the problem." And so what I wanted to tell the paving professionals were, hey, you're focused on the people you hired, but you're half the problem. You hired the wrong person. You didn't set good expectations. You probably don't have good foremen, and you're not focusing on building your leadership team there. And so, so that's where I came up with reducing internal pressure. And then I help folks increase capacity. And increased capacity comes from developing leaders and having a fantastic culture, just like we had in the Strike Brigade.
Definitely. I think that helps any organization. The culture of the organization is what makes it thrive.
Yeah.
You can have the best product, but if you don't have a good culture, you're going to collapse and you'll lose the best people that you have because of the culture.
Oh, that's right. You're going to lose you'll lose your best engineer because you won't get rid of your worst.
Right.
Or if you have your best welder and you make your welder the supervisor of all the other welders and he has no leadership skills, then you've created two problems for yourself. One, you've lost your best welder, and two, you got a shitty leader.
Definitely. Yes. That's definitely something you would see in the military if good leaders weren't able to be kept in a unit or left because they were disgruntled at some point. You wind up with the leader that was below them that was not really doing great things for the God and country, and you had to weed them out on your own after that.
Yeah, it's tough. It is. But anyway, that's what I'm doing now. I'm enjoying it.
And that's the proximity group?
That is the proximity group.
Awesome. So if you can give tips to that young trooper that's thinking of joining the military right now, what would you tell that person, that young man, young woman, as they go to that recruiter's office? What kind of tip would you give them to have a great career or make the right choices?
First thing, make things easy on yourself. Be physically fit. I mean, if you're physically fit, if you're more physically fit than at least 50% of everybody else in the unit, things are going to be a lot easier for you. So be physically fit and do what you're told.
Your job.
Lead yourself. Look in the mirror and lead yourself, and be on time with the right uniform. It's really about attitude. Developing an attitude where be hungry, and work to learn. And when you work to learn, and you're fit, those folks are generally going to do pretty well in the military. And then they'll get promoted and they'll start leading others.
Providing the same example and building that core of NCOs up again. So that'd be great.
Yeah.
So, Scott, we talked when we I guess 3 weeks ago when we set this up. We talked about the pain train.
Yeah.
You still have pain train flashbacks, or did you wash that away when you hung up your boots?
Oh no, it's still working out. Okay. I just don't have anybody to share it with. Sometimes I do, but not very often. I don't have. I was going to start my own. That was the other business that I was considering. So I was either going to start a mobile fitness business and call it the Pain Train. Put stuff in a container and drive it around. But I figured this would don't make your hobby your job.
Right.
Otherwise you have to find another hobby.
Exactly.
So fitness is still a hobby for me.
Awesome. Scott, it's been great catching up with you. It's always good to hang out with you and chat with you and talk about strike and all the things that you've been through and all the things that you're doing now. It's all great things. How does someone get in contact with you to either get you to work with their company or just to chat with you like we are now?
Yeah, LinkedIn is probably the best place for me. Or they can email me at scott@theproximitygroup.org.
Awesome. Like I said, this has been great. Thanks for agreeing to come on and chat with me for the 30 or 40 minutes we've been on here. It's been great, and thanks for battling through technology at the beginning with me and doing this.
Oh, it's fantastic, Rich. Hey, thanks for what you're doing for the force.
And no problem. It's my honor to do it.
All right.
All right, strike.
Air assault.
There it is.
All right.
Thanks for checking us out and being a part of the Misfit Nation. Don't forget to visit our website at themisfitnation.com. That's themisfitnation.com to catch up on all of our episodes and also to get some of that great Misfit Nation gear. As always, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling because we are